Imagine a call center where every call is analyzed in real time. No more manual guesswork. Today, we're uncovering how AI is transforming call centers that globally handle billions of calls, while only 1 to 2% of calls get reviewed manually. Managers spend up to 25% of their time listening to calls, yet most agents have less than 0.6 of their calls audited. Now, picture instant transcriptions, scoring, and coaching delivered within seconds. This is not the future, it's happening literally right now, slashing review times by over 90% and saving companies hundreds of thousands in costs. Stick around to see how this breakthrough is not only boosting efficiency but also revolutionizing customer service and sales performance. And let me show you how that works. Imagine you have a customer support representative that is answering customer calls that are reaching out to you in a call center. For the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to use an example that I found on YouTube of sort of bad customer service. Let's actually take a look.
All Pro Vacuums, this is Tanya.
Hey, Tanya. I'm having a problem with my vacuum cleaner. It just stopped working on me, and I don't know why it stopped working. It's not old or...
Did you check underneath to see if anything is blocking it?
Well, yeah, of course I did. That was one of the first things that I did. This is what happened. This morning, I started vacuuming my son's room, and it's a pretty good size room.
And it goes like this.
So I turned it off, and
When you first started using...
And also, I did look at the belt, and it seemed okay.
Did the vacuum cleaner work when you first started using it today?
Yes, I just said that. I remember I told you that.
So I think you get the idea. Imagine being a sales leader or head of call center. Basically, you would need to literally go and listen to each of the calls and understand what are the key points, what actually Tanya, which is the customer representative right in the video, what she actually did wrong, why she didn't listen to the customer, why she interrupted the customer. You will need to write this down to give her feedback afterwards. That might actually take a lot of time. Even though the call is pretty short, you would need to listen it for a few times just to remember back what was told, as well as you will need to write down the key insights so that he can give the feedback. Imagine being a bigger bank or a bigger company which has 5 or 10 customer support representatives or even more. I mean, they would get up to 100 calls per day, and if we're talking months, this would be thousands of calls of your team. Physically, it's not possible to listen all of them. That's why we have the AI that can actually help us and listen all of the calls for us. Instead of us just going cherry picking 1 or 2 calls per each employee, it's gonna just listen all of them and provide instant feedback. And this is how it actually works. So if you have a call center, you would probably have some kind of service to actually record your calls and store it for the review, for the, to check what the customers was asking in case there is some problem, so you can always go and check what was told. So in my case, I imagine I'm gonna be saving these calls to my Google Drive. You can save it on your own system or Microsoft OneDrive, it doesn't really matter. Here's the main idea. Once the call is recorded, it automatically saves in a specific folder, and if you just double check, it's just exactly the same call.
Tanya?
Hey, Tanya.
Yeah. So that's exactly the same call. So here is the idea. Once every single file is added to this folder, this automation instantly starts. You can have different types of services for your company to provide feedback. And in my case, I've chosen Slack. It can be email, it can be Microsoft Teams chat, it can be Skype or whatever other service you're actually using. But what the cool part is that it literally took me 15 seconds. We can actually check that it took me 19 seconds to provide feedback on this call. And if I go to my Slack channel, and I will have a specific Slack channel for call evaluation, it actually says, okay, so the overall score for this customer service call is 65 out of 18. While Tonya demonstrated a willingness to assist the customer, it provided relevant troubleshooting questions. There was areas for improvement, okay? And we actually heard that she interrupted the customer, she didn't really find the need. So let's see what our AI actually suggested. So Tanya could have allowed the customer to fully explain their issue without interruptions. That's legit, which would have helped in understanding the situation better because she provided her guest conclusions even before the customer actually explained what was the problem. Additionally, summarizing the issue and confirming the proposed solution would have enhanced the call experience. In future calls, it will be beneficial for Tonya to actively listen and refrain from interrupting the customer, allowing them to fully express their concerns before jumping to questions. And that was exactly the main problem here. This approach not only shows empathy, but also ensures that the customer feels heard and understood. Overall, Tonya did a good job in resolving the issue, but focusing on communication skills and customer engagement could lead to even better performance. I think it's really quick, it's short, it's very straight to the point actually. The biggest problem with this call was that the Tonya interrupted and didn't really listen to the customer need, didn't actually repeat the problem, and we can actually go even deeper with the prompting and AI actually suggesting stuff. But I wanted to make it relatively short so that you don't need to read a lot of text after each call, because you might be bombarded with different calls. That's one thing. And the other thing, I wanted to give us a certain score, right? So 65 out of 80 doesn't feel like, it's too bad, but there is certainly room for improvement. So we shoot for higher calls. And actually, I've checked it with the good calls, you really get a higher score. You get like, 90% plus of the score if you get it yourself. However, to develop the score, it is actually your personal expert knowledge that you would put in AI to actually evaluate each call. So let's actually see in detail how the system works. So the first block, as you can see, it watches for the files basically appearing in a specific folder. In my case, that was on a Google Drive. Then the next block is actually downloading the file so that I can pass that file to my AI. So here we have three kind of AI blocks, and the first one is using Whisper model. This is the model by OpenAI that transcribes the call to text. So this is kind of speech to text service. There is not much of prompting here. So we're just using Whisper to get the text out of audio. So the next model, what it does is actually separates the role, because we are getting a bulk text and we don't really know, okay, which one is, customer support rep, which was his client. Let's make it clean and clear for the AI to analyze later. And that's what it does. It splits the customer service by roles. Do not forget any detail, and we provide the whole text. It's going to be like a bunch of text. And then the last guy, what it does actually, the last guy is analyzing the whole call. And this is where, there is like advanced prompting is taking place. Basically, we are providing a role, your customer call quality evaluator, all the tips and tricks, you're a perfect sales guy and stuff like this. And then we get it criteria for evaluating the call. And the scoring itself, that's your expert judgment essentially, right? You might have your own scoring in your specific job using some industry standards. That's totally fine. The main idea here is that you provide a scale for AI to evaluate. You don't want to be like really subjective in that sense. You don't want it to say, okay, give your own understanding. I feel like 57 out of 80. No, tell it what it needs to give points for, and it will do the job basically. Here we basically provide how much points you get for each. And if, for example, did the representative allow the customer to explain the issue? Yes or no? So in that case, Tonya didn't allow to explain, it receives 0, right? So it got a scoring here, and then we have, we got the examples of how we would expect the answer to be. And that's why, I also provide here a couple of examples. How would I expect my AI to answer me? And AI is actually looking at the example and saying, okay, this is probably the amount of text you're expecting. So that's why I will actually shoot for something similar. Well, in the final, we just output it in Slack as we've seen there. I think this is very quick and easy automation. They can save tons of time for call centers, because as we now actually evaluating just cherry-picked few calls per week or even per month, this tool can actually work 24/7 for all the customer service reps at all times. And think about how much of the quality can potentially be improved if you are literally improving on each call every time. You get instant feedback. You don't need your sales rep to come and listen to the calls, assigning a meeting and, discussing the stuff. You get it instantly, and it's unbiased, right? It's not like, I'm your sales leader and I prefer you more than the other guy, and that's why you get a more harsh feedback. No, AI is unbiased in that sense. It doesn't really care who you are and like what's your gender, what's your race. It doesn't matter, right? It just listens to the calls, and it's very objective in a sense. It doesn't want to harm you. And we also prompted it to be like a little bit more polite and don't be too harsh in the feedback giving, so that customer service reps do not get demotivated. I just wanted to quickly show you how a simple automation can actually improve significantly the quality of your department. And this is only in the call centers. There are many other departments and improvements that can potentially lead to significant gain, and I've created many videos already on this regard, so go and check them. And if you think this is something that could be useful for your business or any other AI automation, drop me a line, add me to contacts on LinkedIn, and reach out to me either via website or LinkedIn, and we're gonna figure it out. Today, we saw how AI cuts through the inefficiencies, turning a process that once covered just 1 to 2% of calls into a system that reviews 100% of interactions, saving managers countless hours and reducing costs dramatically. AI is making a reality something that wasn't even possible before. If you're ready to boost productivity and transform your call center with AI, reach out to me via link below, hit the subscribe button for more videos like this in the future so that we can explore more groundbreaking innovations in the future. See you in the next one.